I had been trying for a baby with Hannah for 2 years. When she finally told me she was pregnant, it felt like all our dreams were coming true. 8 weeks later, she came home crying, saying she had miscarried our baby. I was devastated but supported her through it. Something felt off, though, especially when I noticed the strange way my family was acting around her. Before I tell you how my entire family betrayed me, drop a comment letting me know where you are watching from. Hit like and subscribe if you have ever felt that gut feeling when something is not right in your marriage. My life with Hannah was everything I thought I wanted. We had been married for 3 years, both had stable jobs, and had just bought our first home in a quiet neighborhood outside Seattle. Hannah was 28, beautiful with bright blue eyes, and this infectious laugh that could light up any room. I was 30, working as a software engineer for a tech company downtown. From day one, my family adored Hannah. My mom, Martha, would always invite us over for Sunday dinners, and my dad, Robert, treated her like the daughter he never had. My younger sister, Jessica, and Hannah became best friends, almost immediately always shopping together or having coffee dates. It was the kind of family harmony most people only dream about. The only slight tension in our marriage was about having children. When we first met, Hannah mentioned she was not sure if she wanted kids. I always knew I wanted to be a father someday, but I loved her enough to be patient. After our first anniversary, Hannah surprised me by saying she was ready to start trying. I could not have been happier. 2 years passed with no success. Each month brought the same disappointment. I suggested we see a fertility specialist, but Hannah always had reasons to postpone. First, it was too expensive. Then her job was too demanding for appointments. Later, she wanted to try natural remedies first. I respected her wishes, but our inability to conceive started creating tension between us. I would find myself researching fertility tips late at night while Hannah slept. I tracked her cycle on my phone, suggesting the best days to try. Looking back, I realize how much pressure I was putting on her, but at the time I thought I was being supportive and proactive. Then, one Tuesday morning, everything changed. I was getting ready for work when Hannah emerged from the bathroom, tears in her eyes. My heart sank, thinking it was another negative test, but then she smiled and showed me the pregnancy test with 2 clear lines. I will never forget that moment. I picked her up and spun her around our bedroom, both of us laughing and crying at the same time. It felt like the beginning of everything we had been working toward. That night, I could not sleep from excitement already. Mentally designing the nursery and making lists of potential names. Hannah was more cautious. She did not want to tell anyone until after the first trimester, which was sensible. But I could not contain my joy and ended up telling my family during our next Sunday dinner, swearing them to secrecy. Mom cried happy tears. Dad gave me the biggest hug, and Jessica immediately started talking about throwing the perfect baby shower. Looking back, I should have noticed the first red flags then. Hannah seemed uncomfortable with all the attention, which I attributed to her being naturally private. She also kept postponing her first prenatal appointment, saying her doctor was too busy. When I offered to find another doctor, she insisted on sticking with her regular physician. As the weeks passed, I noticed Hannah did not seem to have many pregnancy symptoms. No morning sickness, no food aversions, nothing. When I mentioned it, she said every pregnancy was different and that I should stop comparing her to what I read online. Again, I backed off, not wanting to stress her. She also became irritable whenever I brought up the baby or tried to discuss nursery plans. I wrote it off as pregnancy hormones and tried to be understanding. I even bought a book about supporting your partner through pregnancy, determined to be the best husband and father I could be. Mom and Jessica started buying small baby items, a onesie here, a stuffed animal there. Hannah would smile and thank them, but later I would find these gifts pushed to the back of a closet, still in their bags. I told myself she was just superstitious about having baby things in the house too early. Everything fell apart on a rainy Thursday, 8 weeks after Hannah told me she was pregnant. I came home from work to find her sitting on our couch, eyes red from crying. My heart raced as I sat beside her, already sensing terrible news. Hannah could barely get the words out between sobs. She had gone to the doctor that morning, and there was no heartbeat. She had miscarried our baby. The doctor had confirmed it was a complete miscarriage, and no procedure was necessary. I held her while she cried, fighting back my own tears. I wanted to be strong for her, to be her rock during this devastating time. Inside, I felt like my heart was being ripped apart. The future I had been imagining, the child I had already started to love, was gone in an instant. When I asked why she had gone to the appointment alone, Hannah said it was a last-minute opening, and she did not want to bother me at work. I offered to take her back to the doctor together for a follow-up, but she insisted it was unnecessary. The doctor had told her everything was fine physically, and she just needed time to heal emotionally. The next few days were strange. Hannah seemed to recover from her grief surprisingly quickly. When I suggested we look into grief counseling, she said she preferred to process things privately and just wanted to move on. One evening I came home to find her boxing up the few baby items we had collected. She said seeing them was too painful, but there was something mechanical about the way she went about it, almost as if she was completing a chore. What struck me as odd was my family's reaction. When I called to tell them the news, my mother sounded sad but not surprised. Jessica expressed sympathy but changed the subject quickly. Dad mumbled condolences and handed the phone back to Mom. None of them came over immediately, which seemed out of character, especially for my mother, who was usually so protective of both of us. A few days later, I noticed Jessica and Mom starting to visit our house frequently, always when I was at work. Hannah mentioned these visits casually, saying they were just checking in on her. But whenever I came home early and found them together, their conversations would stop abruptly, and there would be this heavy silence that felt loaded with secrets. One evening I arrived home to find Jessica's car in our driveway. I entered quietly through the garage and heard them talking in the kitchen. Jessica was saying, "He does not need to know the truth. It would destroy him." Hannah responded, "I know, but I hate lying to him every day." They heard me closing the garage door and immediately switched to talking about some TV show. That night I could not sleep, their words echoing in my mind. What truth were they hiding? What could be worse than losing our baby? I started paying more attention to Hannah's behavior. She was password protecting her phone, something she had never done before. She was deleting her browser history regularly. Whenever I entered a room, she would quickly end phone calls. Something was definitely wrong. I tried confronting her gently, asking if there was anything else going on with her health, or if the doctor had told her something she was afraid to share. Hannah became defensive, accusing me of not trusting her and making her grief worse. I backed off, feeling guilty for causing her more pain. But the suspicion had taken root. I started looking for evidence of her doctor's appointments. There were no medical bills in our mail or email. No appointment cards. No prescriptions. I checked our joint bank account and credit card statements, finding no charges from any medical facility around the time she claimed to have confirmed the miscarriage. When I casually asked for her doctor's name so I could send a thank you note for taking care of her, Hannah stumbled over her words and gave me a name that, when I looked up later, did not exist at her medical practice. My family was acting strange, too. Mom was unusually attentive to Hannah, bringing her meals and checking in daily. But with me, she seemed distant, almost guilty. Jessica was avoiding being alone with me, always making excuses to leave when Hannah was not around. Dad was drinking more than usual and barely making eye contact during family gatherings. It felt like everyone I loved was part of a secret I was not allowed to know. The betrayal was beginning to eat away at me, turning my grief over our lost baby into something darker, more suspicious. I knew I needed to find out what they were all hiding. The truth revealed itself in pieces, each one more painful than the last. It began when I was looking for some aspirin in Hannah's bathroom drawer and found a nearly full pack of birth control pills. I froze, staring at the package. Hannah had told me she stopped taking birth control over 2 years ago when we started trying to conceive. The dates on the pack showed recent use, including during the time she was supposedly pregnant. My hands shook as I placed them back exactly as I found them. That night I pretended everything was normal, but my mind was racing with terrible possibilities. The next morning, after Hannah left for work, I did something I had never done before. I checked her email. Most were mundane work messages or newsletters, But then I found exchanges between her and Jessica with the subject line, "The Plan." Opening them revealed conversations about Hannah's fake pregnancy and how to handle the inevitable fake miscarriage. My sister, my own blood, had been actively helping my wife deceive me about the most important thing in my life. I read message after message, each one driving the knife deeper. Hannah had never been pregnant. She had bought a positive pregnancy test online. Jessica had helped her research common pregnancy symptoms to fake and advised her on when to stage the miscarriage. I felt physically ill, rushing to the bathroom to throw up. After composing myself, I knew I needed more answers. Instead of confronting Hannah immediately, I decided to start with Jessica. I left work early and drove straight to her apartment, not even calling ahead. When Jessica opened her door, her smile faltered at the look on my face. "Landon, what is wrong? Why are you not at work?" I walked past her into her apartment. "I know everything, Jess. I found Hannah's birth control pills. I read your emails about the fake pregnancy." Her face went pale. She tried denying it at first, claiming I had misunderstood something. But when I pulled out printed copies of their emails, she crumbled onto her couch and started crying. "I am so sorry, Landon." She was desperate. She said you were obsessed with having a baby, that you would leave her if she told you she never wanted children. So your solution was to help her lie about being pregnant, and then fake a miscarriage. My voice was eerily calm despite the rage and hurt boiling inside me. Jessica wiped her tears. She was going to do it with or without me. I thought if I helped, at least I could make sure she did it safely, in a way that would hurt you least. Hurt me, least, I laughed bitterly. And Mom and Dad, do they know too? Jessica looked down. Mom knows everything. She found out when Hannah was planning the miscarriage part. She thought it was better to let it play out than to have you discover the pregnancy was fake. And Dad, he suspects something. Mom did not tell him directly, but he is not stupid. I felt like I was drowning. My entire family had conspired against me. So let me get this straight. My wife never wanted children, but instead of telling me she pretended to be pregnant, then she pretended to lose our non-existent baby. And my sister and mother actively helped her with this plan, all while watching me grieve for a child that never existed. Jessica could not look me in the eyes. "When you put it like that, how else would you put it?" I shouted, finally losing my composure. "How could you do this to me? I am your brother." "We thought it was best for your marriage," she whispered. "Hannah loves you, Landon. She was terrified of losing you. Mom said sometimes in marriage we make sacrifices." Sacrifices. This was not a sacrifice. This was a complete betrayal of trust. All of you watched me grieving, planning for this baby's future, and then mourning its loss. Do you have any idea what that did to me? Jessica had no answer. I left her apartment with one final statement. "Tell Mom and Dad I will be dealing with them next. But first I need to talk to my wife." I drove home in a daze, trying to process the magnitude of the lies I had been told. Hannah's car was in the driveway. I took a deep breath and walked in, finding her preparing dinner in the kitchen as if it were any normal day. She smiled when she saw me, but it faded quickly at my expression. "What is wrong?" she asked. Wordlessly, I placed the birth control pills and printed emails on the kitchen counter. Hannah's face crumpled as she realized what had happened. "Landon, I can explain," she started. "Please do," I said coldly. "Explain to me why you would rather fabricate an entire pregnancy and miscarriage than simply tell me you do not want children." Hannah broke down crying. "I was scared you were so excited about having children. Every month when my period came, I saw the disappointment in your eyes. The tracking apps, the fertility tips, the constant pressure. I knew having children was non-negotiable for you. So you thought lying was the solution, making me believe we created a life together. Then taking that hope away, I never meant to hurt you," she sobbed. "I thought after the miscarriage you would be sensitive enough not to bring up trying again for a while. I was going to suggest we take a long break, then gradually lead you to accept that maybe we were not meant to have children." I sat down, suddenly exhausted. "And my family. How did they get involved in this?" Hannah wiped her tears. Jessica figured it out. I was not consistent with some of the pregnancy details. She confronted me, and I confessed. She said she would help me manage the situation to minimize your pain. By extending the lie, she thought it would be less painful than knowing I had deliberately deceived you. Then your mom overheard us talking. She was furious at first, but then agreed the miscarriage plan was the cleanest way out. I shook my head in disbelief. Clean for who? Not for me, obviously. Did any of you consider what this would do to me? Finding out not only that my wife has been lying, but that my own family helped cover it up. Hannah reached for my hand, but I pulled away. I love you, Landon. I just do not want the same things you do. I should have been honest from the beginning. Yes, you should have. I stood up. I am calling my parents. I want all of you here tonight. We are going to get everything out in the open. 2 hours later, we sat in our living room, an impossible tension filling the air. My mother could not meet my eyes. My father looked confused and angry. Jessica sat with her head down, while Hannah cried quietly in the corner. I want to hear from each of you, I said. Why you thought this deception was acceptable. My mother spoke first. Landon marriages survive on compromise. Hannah came to me terrified. She said you were so set on having children that she felt trapped. I remembered how your father was the same way when we were young. I knew how single-minded you could be once you set your heart on something. So you helped her lie to me. Your own son, I thought I was protecting your marriage, she defended weakly. Sometimes ignorance is kinder than truth. My father cleared his throat. For the record, I suspected something was off, but your mother told me to stay out of it. Said it was woman's business. I should have pushed harder. I am sorry, son. Jessica just kept repeating that she thought she was helping, that Hannah would have done something more drastic without her guidance. Hannah sat silently through it all occasionally, adding that she was sorry that she loved me, that she had been a coward. I looked at these 4 people, the ones I had trusted most in the world, and felt completely alone. I need time away from all of you, I finally said. I cannot even look at you right now. That night I packed a bag and checked into a hotel. For 2 weeks I ignored calls and texts from all of them. I needed space to think, to process the magnitude of this betrayal and decide what it meant for my future. During those 2 weeks alone, I did a lot of thinking. At first I was consumed by anger and hurt, spending sleepless nights staring at the hotel ceiling. How could I ever trust any of them again? How could I rebuild my life when its very foundation had been built on lies? I started seeing a therapist, needing professional help to process my feelings. Dr. Brasted www. Maxwell helped me understand that while my pain was entirely justified, I also needed to examine my own role in creating the situation. Had I been so focused on having children that I made Hannah feel she could not be honest with me? Had I created an environment where she felt a dramatic lie was safer than the truth? This was not about excusing what Hannah and my family had done, but about understanding the complete picture. After several sessions, I realized I had been putting enormous pressure on Hannah about having a baby. I had made it clear, though, never in so many words, that having children was non-negotiable for me. I had turned our intimate life into a scheduled baby-making project, tracking her cycles and optimum fertility windows. None of this justified their deception, but it helped me understand how we had arrived at this terrible place. After 2 weeks of reflection, I was ready to start addressing the situation, beginning with establishing new boundaries. I met with each family member individually. With my mother, I was direct about how deeply her betrayal had hurt me. Mom, you chose Hannah's secret over my right to know the truth about my own marriage. You watched me grieve a baby that never existed, rather than being honest with me. She cried, of course, insisting she had only wanted to protect me. I told her clearly, if you want any relationship with me going forward, you need to respect that I am an adult who can handle difficult truths. No more lies, no matter how well-intentioned. With Jessica, I was equally firm. She had always been my closest confidant, which made her betrayal particularly painful. I told her our relationship could only continue if she respected my marriage boundaries and never again conspired with Hannah behind my back. My father was simpler to address. He had suspected something but chosen not to get involved. I told him that his passivity had hurt me, that sometimes being a father meant having difficult conversations. He nodded soberly, promising to do better. The hardest conversation was with Hannah. We met at a neutral coffee shop, both nervous and unsure. She looked like she had not been sleeping well either. "I have been doing a lot of thinking," I told her. "What you did was wrong on every level. You took away my agency and made me grieve a child that never existed." "I know," she said quietly, "and I will regret it for the rest of my life. I also realize I put tremendous pressure on you about having children. I never created space for you to be honest about your feelings." She looked surprised at my partial accountability. "That does not excuse what I did." "No, it does not," I agreed, "which is why I need space from our marriage. I am not filing for divorce right now, but I am going to stay with a friend for a while. I need time to decide if trust can ever be rebuilt between us." I laid out my conditions, clearly complete honesty, going forward marriage counseling if we decided to try again, and a frank discussion about children and our future. I needed to know if her desire not to have children was absolute or if it was primarily fear-driven. "And Hannah," I added, "no matter what happens between us, please do not ever again use dishonesty as a solution. It only postpones pain, and ultimately makes it far worse." Over the next several months, I focused on rebuilding myself. I threw myself into my work, earning a promotion I had been working toward. I reconnected with old friends I had neglected while so focused on baby making. I continued therapy, processing my grief, not for a lost child, but for the lost trust in my closest relationships. Hannah and I began marriage counseling, taking small steps to see if we could salvage anything from the wreckage of our relationship. The counselor helped us communicate more honestly than we ever had before. Hannah admitted she had always been terrified of pregnancy and childbirth, but had never felt she could tell me. I admitted I had been so focused on becoming a father that I had stopped seeing her individual needs. With my family, healing came slowly. Sunday dinners resumed, though, with a new, more cautious dynamic. My mother was on her best behavior, careful not to overstep. Jessica and I rebuilt our relationship through honest conversations and her consistent efforts to regain my trust. 6 months after discovering the truth, Hannah and I made a difficult decision. We loved each other, but our fundamental goals were different. She truly did not want children, and I truly did. No amount of compromise could bridge that gap. We decided to separate amicably, both recognizing that we deserved partners who shared our vision for the future. The strange thing was, once the pressure of trying to conceive was gone, I felt lighter. I had defined so much of my identity and happiness around becoming a father that I had lost sight of other sources of joy and meaning. I started volunteering with a youth mentoring program, channeling my paternal instincts in a different direction. Today, a year later, I am dating someone new. Ashley and I are taking things slowly, being radically honest about what we want. My relationship with my family has healed, though it is forever changed. Trust once broken never returns exactly as it was before, but new trust can be built stronger for having been tested. The greatest lesson from this painful chapter was that honesty, however difficult, is always less painful than deception. My wife's fake miscarriage caused far more damage than her truth ever could have, and my family's misguided protection hurt rather than helped. Have you ever experienced a betrayal by those closest to you? How did you handle it? Did you find a way to forgive, or did you need to walk away? Share your story in the comments below. If this story resonated with you, please hit the like button and subscribe to hear more real-life experiences. And if you know someone struggling with honesty in their relationships, share this video with them. Sometimes, the hardest conversations lead to the most necessary growth. Thank you for listening to my journey, and remember, the truth may hurt, but lies always hurt more in the end.